We have all been there, right? Staring down a blinking cursor on a blank page. It's a universally terrifying experience in the academic world. You're just sitting there, waiting for this lightning bolt of pure genius to strike. But what if finding a solid research problem has absolutely nothing to do with waiting for inspiration? Today, we're diving into this explainer to look at a highly effective, structured way to cure that blank page paralysis once and for all.
I want you to picture someone for a second. Let's call them our overwhelmed researcher. Maybe you can relate to them. They're smart, they're completely capable, but right now they are drowning in a sea of vague interests. And worse, they're paralyzed by this one massive myth. I need the perfect idea before I can start. It's a trap. It keeps brilliant people completely stuck at the starting line because they think they can't do any actual work until a fully formed Nobel Prize-winning concept just drops from the sky. So here is the crucial mental shift we need to make. Choosing a problem isn't about waiting for perfection. It's actually an active process of narrowing your curiosity. Think of a giant funnel. That's going to be our metaphor for this journey. We're going to take our overwhelmed researcher, who's standing up at the incredibly wide top of this funnel with a massive, messy idea, and we'll guide them down, step by step, until they squeeze out a razor-sharp, actionable, and totally publishable research problem at the bottom.
All right, let's kick things off at the top of that funnel with phase 1. Identifying your broad interests and jumping into initial reading. At this stage, you just need a broad subject that you genuinely care about. Maybe that's renewable energy, or maybe it's mental health. You need that curiosity because it's going to be your fuel. Once you pick an area, you just start reading. And notice, we aren't getting bogged down in complex methodologies yet. We are just skimming credible articles and textbooks to get the lay of the land. While you read, just ask yourself, what topics keep popping up? What problems are people arguing about? For example, if you're in business management, maybe you notice everyone is suddenly debating remote work and productivity. You're just observing the landscape right now. So now we're moving a little further down the funnel into phase 2, finding the academic gap. Okay, so you've read enough to know what everyone is talking about. Now, you hunt for what they are missing. The best research problems are almost always hiding in a gap. You're looking for something unclear, an unsolved issue, or maybe a specific group of people that just hasn't been studied much. Think about an education topic. You're reading all these intense debates about online versus face-to-face learning, and suddenly it hits you. Hey, lots of studies discuss online learning, but hardly any focus on rural students. Boom! You've just found a missing puzzle piece in the literature, and now you have a specific target. Next up is phase 3, the art of narrowing, where we focus and format the idea. This is where the funnel gets really tight, and honestly, you have to be absolutely ruthless about cutting away the fluff. Look at the transformation here. A topic like online learning effectiveness is way too broad. Who are you even asking? How are you measuring it? It's just a mess. But compare that to effect of online learning on math performance of grade 10 rural students. See how sharply focused that is? We've got a clear variable with math performance, a specific group with grade 10 students, and a distinct context with rural schools. That is a project you can actually tackle. Once you've narrowed down the what and the who, it's time to format it into a definitive question. And please, do not reinvent the wheel here. There are highly reliable, proven templates you can use. Things like, what is the effect of X on Y? Or how does X influence Y? Or even, what are the challenges faced by X in Y? By just slotting your narrowed focus into these templates, you instantly give your research a clear, investigatable direction. Moving right along, we hit phase 4, the reality check. This is where we look at feasibility, relevance, and feedback. At this point, you might have a beautiful question, but academia isn't a theoretical vacuum. You have to pause and make sure this perfectly narrowed idea can actually survive contact with reality. Your question has to run a 3-part gauntlet: checking feasibility, ensuring relevance, and getting critical feedback. Honestly, skipping this part is where so many researchers end up wasting months of their lives. Step 1 of that gauntlet is feasibility, and it requires ruthless honesty. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. Do I actually have access to the data or the participants? Do I have enough time before my deadline? Do I actually understand the research methods I'd need to pull this off? If your big idea is to study the dietary habits and BMI of teenagers, do you have a practical way to measure their BMI and survey their diet? Because if the answer is no, the idea just isn't feasible. But here's a pro secret. If your idea fails the feasibility check, you don't just throw the whole thing away. You simply scale it back. Let's say your engineering project requires building physical, low-cost solar panels to test their efficiency, but you literally have no budget and 0 lab space. Instead of scrapping it, pivot. You simulate those solar panels using computer software instead. You are still answering the exact same research question, you're just doing it in a way that actually matches your reality. Next up, you need to make sure your feasible idea is actually worth doing. Does it address a real issue? Does it contribute new knowledge? Even if it's super hyperlocal knowledge, like how hybrid work is affecting small businesses in your specific town, that counts. And finally, you have to subject your idea to feedback. Run it by your advisors. Tell your classmates. They are going to spot the blind spots you missed. They might tell you to narrow your age group or clearly define what productivity means in your context. Feedback is what stress tests your entire concept. Which brings us to our final step, Phase 5, crafting the final problem. You have made it to the very tip of the funnel. Armed with honest reality checks and critical feedback, all that initial anxiety, all that broad reading, the narrowing, the cutting, it all culminates right here. Your job now is to write your final research problem out clearly in just 1 or 2 sentences. You're creating a beautifully polished, razor-sharp statement of intent that tells everyone exactly what you are about to do. Let's look at the payoff for that education example we tracked earlier. This study investigates the effect of online learning on the mathematics performance of grade 10 students in rural schools. It's perfect. Notice how it's not just, is online learning good or bad? It's highly specific, it's measurable, and it is a sentence that is 100% ready for a formal proposal. And the brilliant thing about this funnel method is that it literally works for any discipline. Let's do a rapid-fire tag to prove it. Over in psychology, your narrowed sentence might be, this study explores the relationship between daily social media use and stress levels among senior high school students. See that specific variable, daily social media use. How about engineering? It looks like this. This study aims to optimize the tilt angle of low-cost solar panels to improve energy efficiency in residential areas. It is so actionable and completely clear. They aren't trying to solve the entire global energy crisis. They are just optimizing the tilt angle of one type of panel in one specific setting. And finally, over in business management, this study examines the effect of hybrid work arrangements on employee productivity in small businesses. So, from liberal arts to health sciences to business, the formula holds up. You find the broad interest, you locate the gap, narrow the focus, check if it's feasible, and draft your sentence. To make sure you feel totally empowered to do this yourself, here is your ultimate sanity checklist. Before you finalize any topic, it has to pass these 4 criteria. Is it specific? Meaning, have you narrowed it down enough? Is it researchable? Can you actually collect real data on it? Is it relevant? Does it address an issue people actually care about? And is it manageable? Does it fit your actual real-world timeline and resources? If you can confidently check all 4 of those boxes, you have struck academic gold. And that wraps up our explainer for today. That blank page really shouldn't paralyze you anymore, because now you know the secret. You aren't waiting for a perfect idea to fall out of the sky. You are just taking a big, messy interest and feeding it into a funnel. So, here is my challenge to you. Stop waiting for perfection. What vague curiosity are you going to narrow into concrete knowledge today? Get out there, find your gap, and start narrowing.